and welcome to Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, Bill Cannon. A lot of things are happening right now in the Gabby Petito case. Uh, all my friends on YouTube, if you're not a subscriber to Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories, please go on our YouTube, hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and hit that bell. As you know, we were live on the air last night when at about 6 p.m. the FBI went live on the air and announced that they believed that they had found the remains of Gabby Petito in in the national park in Wyoming, the Grand Teton National Park. This, of course, for all of us that have been following this case, was bad news. We were hoping that, of course, that Gabby was still alive, and this bad news was delivered via a news conference. Folks, uh, it was very. They made the identification very quickly, which is rare because she was probably dead for 23 days. So you can imagine um, what the remains look like. Heavily decomposed, out in the open, subject to animals and the heat and all that stuff. So perhaps they made an identification through a piece of jewelry, maybe that the tattoos were still visible. I know she had a tattoo um, on her arm that said "Let it be." So maybe they made an identification through that way. But however, the FBI was satisfied that that the identification is Gabby Petito. Very sad case. As we know, you don't know, I don't like the term person of interest, but we know that her boyfriend, her fiance, Brian Laundrie, arrived back in um, in Florida on the 1st of September. Um, and right away, he lawyered up. So, to us in the police business, we never use that term person of interest. The press uses that, and law enforcement acquiesces to the press, and they use that term person of interest. But to me, from minute one, he was a suspect. All right. Right now, as we speak, the FBI is at the Laundrie home executing a federal search warrant for evidence. I believe I had seen Duty Ron reported on a quick little blast that, hi, Rachel Williams, how are you? Hi, Factual Breakdown, Dawn Marie, Tom Cusinelli, how are you guys in the chat? Uh, a lot of people are going to comment on Monday Morning Quarterback. We'll get to that. I'm going to give you just a short recap. But the FBI is executing a search warrant on their house right now. What are they looking for? They're looking for any type of trace evidence, any type of things. We don't know right now what the cause of death was. We have no idea. From what I understand, the mother of Brian was taken in to custody. I would imagine voluntarily. I didn't think she was reported that she was taken in handcuffs. But now maybe that they found the remains of Gabby Petito, that the family will now cooperate because they realize this is no joke, and they realize maybe they knew what happened all along, and they just didn't want to give up to the police what their son had done in this case. However, you would think that Gabby had lived with them for 2.5 years, that they would be attached to Gabby also. So apparently that wasn't it, but because he lawyered up right away, and now he's missing. So the FBI has a federal search warrant. Uh, in within 12 hours, as Duty Ron said before, the wheels of justice are turning very, very quickly. You know, and the next thing that, of course, they want to do is they want to find Brian Laundrie. In these cases, it's not uncommon that the person who fled will commit suicide. And I'm not trying to be a predictor, but I've worked hundreds of murder cases, and that's a commonality that could occur. especially when you look at his whole persona. He didn't seem like a tough guy. He was a bit timid when he was pulled over by the police. He couldn't stop saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I took that in my police career. Whenever someone over apologized, I always felt they were over apologizing to hide some kind of guilt, you know. So let's go over the timeline. On July 2nd, the road trip began with Gabby and Brian. On 8/12, the Moab police stopped them in that infamous car stop where it was caught on police body worn cameras. And every one of us, many of us, are Monday morning quarterbacking the job that the police did on that car stop. I happen to think that they did a thorough investigation. I think they did a pretty good job. In that situation, if someone was going to get arrested, which would be the primary aggressor, it probably would have been Gabby. So I think they wanted to avoid making an arrest. They split them up. They referred them to court, and that was, you got to realize, that was on August 12th. So on August 25th, Gabby made an Instagram post. Hi from the UK. Yeah, it's such a shame, Julie Jackson, that we're praying for the family now. How horrendous. This is the worst thing that could happen to any family. And we all should be praying for the family, that's for sure. And let's pray also that they apprehend Brian Laundrie. Yeah, it's just we have to hope that they apprehend him, that they find out the full story to this. Why did it happen? How did it happen? But you got to realize that if Brian Laundrie is apprehended, factual breakdown, she said the only thing that you would rather have seen happen was that a police woman would have dealt with Gabby. I don't know if that would have made any difference. I mean, she was upset. She told the police that she had OCD. I don't know if a policewoman would have reacted any differently. As I said, police have to make decisions right on the scene. And I think that the officer, when he questioned her about what was your intent when you hit him with the phone, and she said it wasn't to injure him, it was to get his attention, and he accepted that as an answer, and as a result, there was no arrest. On 8/25, as I was referring to, Gabby made an Instagram post, and then that night that was the last time she had spoken to her mother. So that was 8/25. On 9/1, September 1st, Brian returns to Northport, Florida, by himself with Gabby's van. 9/11/21, Gabby's family reports her missing. So it was a full 10 days that she was. It was a full 10 days that she was missing. That she wasn't reported. So the police had had 10 days where there was no work on this case because she was never ever reported missing. One of the things that, when you always hear this out of the New York City Police Department: if you see something, say something. And those two people, I believe the date was the 27th, that they reported that they saw the white van in that area of the Grand Teton Park. And I have no doubt that information resulted in the FBI and the searches finding Gabby. Because that narrowed down the area that they had to search, and it gave them a pretty good idea where they should begin searching. And as I understand, the remains were found not too far from where that van was parked in those campgrounds. So we applaud those folks that went through their camera, their social media, and they saw that they had in fact had a videotape of the white van. In fact, it had that infamous hat in the dashboard, so they had no doubt, the ladder on the back, they had no doubt that this was the van in question. And you can imagine the scope of this investigation, especially when Brian drove back from the Grand Tetons to Florida, which is approximately a 37 to 40-hour drive, depending on whether you do it straight or you take stops. Um, yeah, it says something that these people, and the power of media. When you think about the thousands of miles in between, uh, I'm sorry, you said there was an interview on Jay is for Justice today. The people that claim to have picked Brian up, I think that was a hoax. I think they were lying. There was no confirmation of that by any um, official law enforcement source. Folks, I just want you to know, being a 27-year retired veteran of the NYPD, I don't take any YouTube content creator, their information, other than maybe Duty Ron and some of the former police officers, as gospel. I think it has to be vetted because some people have reasons for putting false information out there. And whether it's to inflate their numbers on their channel or whatever the reason is, people do egregious things. Factual breakdown, you're not looking to castigate police, but you're an overprotective person by nature. Myself and Phil Grimaldi, we critiqued the response by the Moab police, and I think that they did a pretty good job. I mean, we all have 2020 hindsight, and we could say something bad happened, but something bad happened. That stop was on August 12th. Something bad happened probably on what would have been 14 or 15 days later, so a full 2 weeks later. Um, so it's like, uh, yeah, the TikTok girl, it was rubbish. It was not true. I don't know why she was doing that. Obviously, she had ulterior motives to beef up her own channel. There's also people here that are they go on YouTube and they talk about reading the body language. There's one guy who reads the body language on a YouTube channel who's actually excellent. He's really an excellent. He makes it very scientific. However, you cannot definitively predict human behavior. What's going to happen? Look, at that point when they were stopped on the 12th, they had been together for a full month and a half inside a tiny little van. Uh, Yeah, well, you're right. Factual breakdown. If you separate from them for a night, you're right. They were in a van together, young people. They were arguing. How many people, even married people, if I was traveling even with my wife around the country in a small van, I'm sure we would argue over lots of things. I don't think it would go to the level of where someone would get killed. Uh, you know, Ed Nelson, he asked Bill, shouldn't they have arrested her if she struck him in the face? Ed, you know what the police officer asked a great question. He asked Gabby, "What was your intent when you hit him with the phone?" And had she said, "My intent was to cause a physical injury," there's no doubt she would have been arrested because the crime of assault, the first statute, the first subdivision of it, it says intent physical injury, cause physical injury. And had she said, yes, I intended to cause him a physical injury, she would have been arrested. However, she didn't say that. She said she hit him with the thing to get his attention, to make him pull over. So that's why the law, he asked those questions, which is very smart of that officer to do because, the police departments are a very punitive organization. And if you do something wrong, believe me, the police departments are looking to take a piece out of your ass, believe it or not. So I think they'd have a very difficult time in disciplining any of these officers because I think they did the right thing. And, folks can disagree. We're all, as I said, we all have 2020 hindsight. But this was a full 15 days later that we believe that she, something, folks, when we're talking about, I know some of you guys are talking about the evidence in this case. Yeah, the abuser sometimes, or if Brian had, and we're assuming that he did something that caused Gabby's death, if he did something to her, yes, would they forensically collect evidence from underneath his fingernails? Yes, that's a common forensic technique that if you recovered the DNA from the person that's abused, they could absolutely identify the person, especially in cases where the person is unknown. In this case, we still don't know what happened. We know that Gabby's remains were recovered. We know that Brian and her were together for it was from July 2nd to at least August 27th, nearly 2 months traveling around the country in that small van. Um, the important thing now is that we find hello from Holly W from DC. Uh, well, no, was she supposed to admit? No, but her intent when she was asked that question, she wasn't in custody. She was still free to leave. When she was asked that question, she answered it correctly. That no, my intention. Hello, Trina from Alabama. Good to see you. Leslie Debeloy from Montana. Great to see you guys. This is a heart wrenching case. You know, it really is. I mean, Gabby uh, sort of caught the hearts of everyone across this country, everyone across this world, and everyone was hoping that she would be found alive somewhere, as we do hope in all missing person cases. But for some reason, everyone's heart was taken in by Gabby, and what happened is just horrendous. So now the FBI is serving a federal search warrant on the Laundrie house in Florida. And from what I understand, hello, Robin B. from Indiana. Um, what I understand is they're serving a search warrant on the house, and the mom of Brian has been taken in with the FBI. Apparently, she came in voluntarily. Now maybe the parents will tell the truth. I'm sure they know a lot of things that they were unwilling to say, because let's face it, if if Brian was represented by counsel and he told the parents what happened, I would assume that the same counsel is representing the parents. So maybe the attorney said he would go in with the parents and allow the FBI to speak to them, because they could surely have invoked the same counsel as Brian did. And hopefully now they'll get to know what happened, what occurred, and that's important. Mary Rye, his parents are toxic, enabling, codependent, and they are guilty too. Well, look, we'll see what their level of cooperation is now. If they were harboring a fugitive, and they find out that he in fact did commit this murder, as it potentially could work out to be. Um, the important thing is also for the Tito family, it's a horrible situation that, of course, they recovered the remains, but for their family, they have closure at least. They know what occurred. They have their daughter, home, not home in the way they wanted her, which was alive, but they recovered her remains. Imagine she was never recovered. I mean, it would just be horrendous, that she was never recovered. Folks, maybe just give some prayer emojis here for the family of Gabby Petito. I'll put them up in the chat. Uh, SSS, the video of the car stop you feel should be used to teach new officers how to handle a situation, or you may think, how not? Thank you for those, Joey Brooklyn, sensational you, those prayer emojis. We could always use it. Uh, Real prayer, absolutely, in my opinion, works. Um, it's just, this is a horrendous situation. Tonight at 5:30 on Police Off the Cuff Real Time Stories, myself and Phil, Sergeant Bill and Detective Phil, are going to be live on the air dissecting this case, taking it step by step. Uh, well, yeah, the DNA. If she fought back, you're right, NM. DNA underneath her fingernails. We don't know. She could have been pushed down somewhere. He could have hit her with something. We don't know. We don't know the cause of death right now. So yes, that is police procedure in the process of someone who's a victim of a crime, to process the body for DNA and scraping underneath the fingernails to potentially identify a perpetrator is one of the techniques that crime scene and pathologists will do when there's a homicide. Uh, Joey Brooklyn, the investigation continues and the truth will eventually come out. My sincerest condolences to the family, and mine too. As I was just saying before, tonight at 5:30, myself and Sergeant Bill and Detective Phil, we're going to go live on the air on YouTube, of course, and Facebook Live. And joining us will be the retired police officer and attorney, Joe Murray, who's recovered from his bout with COVID. He had a nasty bout with COVID, as you guys all know. But Joe Murray's a extremely popular guy on YouTube, and he's going to join us tonight. And we'll see what we can dissect, what we can come up with out of this situation. Um, as I said, that the van that was spotted in Grand Teton National Park by that couple that actually videoed it, that was probably the biggest break in the case. It enabled the FBI and the police and all the searchers to narrow down the area of the search. And that, in my opinion, probably led to, probably led to the discovery of Gabby's remains. So when people say, hello, Shane McBride from New Orleans, uh, Joey Brooklyn, um, Leslie Barrington, I think that a lot of us in law enforcement are wondering if, in fact, Brian has committed suicide or potentially will. Um, they're still searching for him. And Lou Gilenso, Lou Canada, how long to determine cause of death? Well, they should know the cause of death once they do the autopsy. Um, they'll also do toxicology. Uh, they'll do all kinds of forensic tests on the body. But once the autopsy is completed, we should know the cause of death pretty soon afterwards. Um, Julie Jackson, hello, Ed Nelson. Michelina Sereno, happy Joe Murray's feeling well. We all are. We're so, and you guys helped it happen. You guys with your prayers, helping Joe Murray to recover from this dreaded disease, COVID. And not to be political, but if you're not vaccinated, I think you should do so. And I got vaccinated early on. My second Pfizer vaccine was in April, and after I got the vaccine, I felt sort of more free to travel, and I immediately went to Florida, to Fort Lauderdale, and then I spent a week in Isla Morada, which was in the Keys, which was just an amazing place to be. Yes, the sighting of the van just, I think, was an amazing thing. You know, this is sort of a lesson too. This case. Well, even when a body's decomposed, pathologists are amazing, and they can conduct certain tests on it, and they do certain things, and they can still figure out the cause of death. They do that even sometimes when bodies are exhumed. They've been buried, and then they dig them up months later. I didn't have any real bad side effects from the Pfizer shot. I felt a little fluish symptoms, and I slept a little bit, but it wasn't bad at all. Yeah, from the beginning, Brian Laundrie 100% was the number one suspect, and as the media says, a person of interest. We all know on this channel, where we give you stuff from a police point of view, that he was a suspect. I don't like that term, person of interest. Well, Michelle Mortis, you believe that his parents should have cooperated with law enforcement from day one? Well, it's easy to say now, right? But when you think of your own child, would you be having him invoke counsel, or would you have him go into the police? In a situation like this, we know the outcome, we know what happened, and it's a horrible thing. But it's a tough question when it is your child. If your child does anything of this nature, do you turn him into the police once you know what happened, or do you get him an attorney and have him invoke counsel? Wesley Bagger's prayers, absolutely prayers. This is a horrendous situation. Ray, we don't know what story that Brian told his parents, but in any event, whatever story he told them, it would be quite suspicious anyway. You got to realize that Gabby lived with them for 2.5 years also. Folks, if you're new to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Uh, Hit the like button. Give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. We're growing our channel day by day. Last week was a real busy week. We did about 9 shows last week, which was one of the busiest weeks we've ever had. And we've had a very eclectic group of guests. This case we jumped on, I think, on the 16th of September. Uh, and it's been a whirlwind of stuff going on. Uh, Now, well, I just saw it. WFLA News said that this is not a crime scene. This is a missing person. He doesn't know what he's talking about. This 100% is a crime scene. All right. So the news likes to use euphemisms and call things what they're not, because that's how they do things. But this is 100% a homicide investigation. The house is 100%. They get a search warrant. That's considered to be a crime scene, whether they're looking for trace evidence. Electronic evidence, maybe look at the computer. Could have been text messages going back and forth to Brian from the parents over the computer. So a search warrant would include all of those things to collect any type of evidence that can link. That's what's known as linkage, to link Brian to this potential homicide. They're looking for linkage evidence. The FBI was taking pics of the back and front of the shed, but they didn't enter yet. Look, we're hoping they do find Brian alive, because we would like to know what happened. So you can learn from this maybe for the future. What occurred? It's as much as we reiterate this is a horrendous situation. They look like two very hopeful people that were just maybe about to start their life together, and what occurred that ended that. We can only hope that we'll find out. Amanda Cunningham, horrific parents. If your child does wrong, you teach them from the start to own it. Yeah, I agree with you, but this is as bad as it can get. P Block, how his parents know where the car was? Maybe he messaged them or the computer. The video that Gabby made was beautiful. Yes, sub, Bill, which is why I don't understand how the FBI didn't have him under 24/7. I think that in retrospect, again, we could say not having him under surveillance was a mistake. And I would agree with that. Although he's free to go. Well, something, whether Brian had a cell phone or not that he reported to the police doesn't matter. Once they get his cell phone number and his carrier, they can still obtain all the information from his cell phone without physically having his cell phone. That's a misnomer that people think. Two young people with everything to live for. Now, one of them's dead, and one of them is about to see the wrath of the criminal justice system. In regards to this, what has occurred, we all try to teach our kids right from wrong, and you can do a great job teaching your kids things, and unfortunately, bad things can happen anyway. P Block Studios, yeah, it is so tragic. Mr. Mick Coliseum Instagram, you don't know he's dead. You can't say that just because you think it. This is positive to question the parents. Now you're all positive and respectful during this time of grieving while friends and family are hurting. Yep, 100%. So, folks, something I just want you to know. Tonight at 5:30 p.m., Sergeant Bill and Detective Phil on Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories, will be giving an in-depth analysis of what has occurred, what to expect in the next couple of days. And again, if you're not subscribed to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories, please hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and join the Police Off the Cuff family. So, folks, for Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories, I'd like to invite all you guys tonight at 5:30 p.m. There's going to be a lot of coverage on this case. But if you like coverage from a police perspective, coverage from people that have actually done this type of work, then join us tonight at 5:30 p.m. Sergeant Bill, Detective Phil, and of course we're going to have Joe Murray back from being sick with COVID, the great attorney and the very popular Joe Murray. Uh, every time he's on my show, all these women are going gaga over him. So, folks, on behalf of Police Off the Cuff, thank you so much for joining me and have a great day.